We need to do a little housekeeping. To recap, Nietzsche seems to think there are at least three ways for enlightened men to deal with the Dionysian abyss once confronted. 1. Make sense of the world through science. 2. Get caught up in Apollinean beauty. 3. Take metaphysical comfort in that will flowing beneath everything. Interestingly, Nietzsche claims that these three forms of illusion or stimulants drive all culture. Depending on the proportions of the stimulants, we will have a Socratic culture, aka Alexandrian culture, an artistic culture, aka Hellenic, or a tragic culture, aka Buddhistic. How did Nietzsche arrive at these signifiers for these types of cultures? The Socratic and Alexandrian connection is obvious enough, and Nietzsche thinks this is the culture that predominates today. Nietzsche says something provocative here about Alexandrian or Socratic culture. He claims it needs a slave class to permanently endure in its optimism. What does he mean? Who are the slaves? Perhaps he is referring to those workers and laborers of industry that allow us to conceptually map the world. What would happen if no one believed in nor cared for intelligibility? What kind of uprisings would there be? The theoretician could appeal to the myths to tranquilize the people, but unfortunately he has already killed those off. What a paradox the scholar finds himself tangled in. Nietzsche claims that when true men of insight can identify the limits of scientific scrutability, i.e. Kant and Schopenhauer, the culture becomes tragic, meaning that wisdom supplants science, a wisdom that denies conceptual knowledge in favor of an understanding that all are intertwined. The suffering of the world is his own and sympathizes with it. The tragic culture ought to crave an art form such as tragedy to deal with the critique of science. We can perhaps now see why Nietzsche identified with the tragic culture with the Buddhistic culture. He is labeling the insight into the true universal, that of primordial interconnectedness, a Buddhistic tenet.